15 years, they called us dinosaurs. Every time we complained about touchscreens replacing buttons, manufacturers told us to adapt. When we asked where the spare tire went, they handed us a can of foam and a roadside assistance number. When we questioned why a $50,000 car no longer had an oil dipstick, they smiled and said the computer handles everything now. Well, something remarkable is happening in 2026. The manufacturers are backtracking, not because they suddenly discovered common sense, but because sales collapsed, customers revolted, and regulators finally stepped in. Volkswagen's design chief publicly admitted removing buttons was a mistake. BMW quietly put spare wheels back in the X3. This is your victory. Today I'm revealing 12 features that manufacturers stripped away that are finally returning to our cars. Feature number 12. Physical buttons for climate and audio controls. Let's start with the biggest reversal happening right now. And this one isn't just coming back voluntarily. It's being mandated by safety regulators who finally acknowledge what every driver already knew. In 2022, a Swedish automotive magazine conducted a test that embarrassed the entire industry. They measured how long basic tasks took while driving at 110 kilometers per hour. 4 simple operations: turn on the heated seat, increase temperature by 2 degrees, start the defroster, and tune the radio to a specific station. A 2005 Volvo 570 with physical buttons completed all 4 tasks in 10 seconds. The driver traveled 306 meters. The MG Marvel R with its massive touchscreen needed 44.9 seconds. That driver traveled over 1.3 kilometers, more than a kilometer, with eyes bouncing between the road and a screen trying to find virtual buttons. From January 2026, safety regulators announced they will penalize any car that doesn't have physical controls for critical functions. Since roughly 90% of buyers check safety ratings before purchasing, this isn't optional anymore. Volkswagen already reversed course. Their design chief admitted publicly, "We will never make this mistake again." The new ID Polo has physical buttons for climate and audio. Hyundai restored physical controls to the Tucson, Palisade, and Santa Cruz after focus groups revealed what everyone already knew. People genuinely hate touchscreens for basic functions. Feature number 11. The spare wheel returns. For over a decade, manufacturers convinced themselves that run-flat tires and mobility foam kits were acceptable replacements for the simple, reliable spare wheel. They saved weight for fuel economy numbers. They freed up cargo space. They looked modern on specification sheets. What they didn't advertise was the reality that owners discovered on roadsides across the world. Run-flat tires cost $250 to $350 each compared to $80 to $120 for standard tires. They ride harshly on normal roads. They're frequently unavailable in rural areas. And that mobility foam, it permanently destroys your tire, meaning you're calling for recovery anyway if the puncture is too large. BMW was the worst offender for years. Their entire lineup shipped without spare wheels while charging premium prices for run-flat rubber that many owners hated. One BMW owner documented a $1,400 ordeal on an enthusiast forum after a flat tire left him stranded for hours waiting for a specific replacement that no nearby shop stocked. But check the specifications for the 2025 BMW X3. For the first time in years, you can actually option a spare wheel. The Space Saver Spare costs around $200. Still an extra charge, but the fact that it exists represents a significant admission that the run-flat experiment failed. The second-hand market punished cars without spares. BMW noticed. And now spare wheels are returning as options across more manufacturers who finally heard the complaints. Feature number 10. Dedicated climate control knobs. This feature deserves its own celebration because climate controls were the canary in the coal mine for everything that went wrong with modern car interiors. Remember when every car had 3 simple rotary knobs? Temperature, fan speed, air direction. You could adjust them without looking. Your passenger could change their side without interrupting your concentration on driving. The system worked perfectly for 50 years without a single customer complaint. Then someone in a design meeting decided that a flat touchscreen panel looked more premium than functional knobs. Suddenly, changing the fan speed required 2 taps and a swipe through menus. Adjusting temperature meant taking your eyes off the road. Dual-zone climate settings became buried 3 menu levels deep in software that updated slower than your patience. The backlash was immediate, sustained, and finally being heard. The 2026 Hyundai Palisade shows physical buttons and rotary knobs for climate. Despite having 2 screens dominating the dashboard, the Tucson returned to physical climate controls. Mazda never abandoned this fight. The CX-30 and CX-5 still have proper climate knobs, and their sales success proves customers notice and reward sensible design. Dacia builds climate controls with actual switches across their entire range, and they're selling more cars than ever. The lesson should have been obvious from the beginning. Climate controls aren't entertainment features. They're essential functions that drivers adjust constantly while driving. Feature number 9, the Oil Dipstick. This one makes me genuinely angry because it represents everything wrong with modern automotive engineering priorities. A component costing perhaps $2 to manufacture that worked flawlessly for a century, providing instant, reliable feedback about your engine's lifeblood, replaced by a sensor costing $250 that sits in boiling contaminated oil waiting to fail. BMW eliminated dipsticks around 2006. Their justification? Market research suggested customers rarely use them. Mercedes followed. Audi joined the club. The problem started immediately. Forum posts from BMW owners document electronic oil level sensors, giving wildly inaccurate readings week after week. One week the dashboard says add a quart. The next week it claims overfilled despite nothing changing. The sensors fail regularly in the hot, contaminated environment of the oil pan, which anyone with basic engineering knowledge could have predicted before the first car shipped. Here's the partial victory that reveals the whole charade. BMW's V8 engines in the 7 Series and 8 Series actually retained physical dipsticks. They just buried them deep in the engine bay and told owners to use the screen instead. The dipstick was there the entire time. BMW simply pretended it wasn't because checking a screen seemed more modern. Now at least they're acknowledging its existence in service documentation. The dipstick was never the problem. Cost-cutting disguised as innovation was always the problem. Feature number 8, naturally aspirated engines. The turbocharged takeover was supposed to deliver better fuel economy with equivalent power. Smaller engines with forced induction, replacing larger naturally aspirated motors that drank more fuel. In laboratory test conditions and on paper specifications, it worked beautifully. In real-world driving, the story told itself differently. Turbocharged engines suffer from turbo lag during acceleration. They require premium fuel in many applications. They add complexity, intercoolers, wastegates, blow-off valves, additional plumbing that can leak or fail expensively, and the promised fuel economy often evaporates when driven enthusiastically, because turbo engines encourage heavy throttle use to access the boost that makes them feel powerful. Mazda refused to follow the crowd into turbocharging everything. Their Sky Active G naturally aspirated engines power the MX-5, CX-30, and Mazda 3 with impressive real-world efficiency and bulletproof reliability. The 2.0-liter Sky Active G produces 186 horsepower without forced induction, delivers genuine 6.5 liters per 100 kilometers in actual driving, and has an impeccable reliability record that turbocharged competitors cannot match. Toyota kept naturally aspirated options across their hybrid lineup. The Corolla Hybrid uses a 1.8-liter NA engine that Consumer Reports rates at just 3 problems per 100 vehicles, compared to 67 problems per 100 vehicles for the turbocharged Mercedes C-Class. These engines don't generate headlines. They also don't generate warranty claims. Sometimes boring engineering is better engineering. Feature number 7, the Manual Handbrake. Electronic parking brakes were marketed as a convenience feature. One button press instead of pulling a lever. Auto hold at traffic lights. Automatic engagement when you switch off the engine. What they didn't advertise was the fundamental difference in failure modes. An electronic parking brake that fails leaves you with no parking brake at all until a dealer intervenes with diagnostic equipment. A manual handbrake that fails can be fixed with a simple cable adjustment in 15 minutes by anyone with basic tools. They also didn't mention that electronic parking brakes eliminate the manual override that lets you modulate braking in a genuine emergency. If your main brakes fail catastrophically, a traditional handbrake gives you a mechanical backup that operates independently of every electrical system in the vehicle. An electronic system gives you a button that may or may not respond depending on what the software decides. Only about 8% of new cars sold in Europe still offer a manual handbrake. The feature has been systematically eliminated from mainstream vehicles. But Dacia refuses to comply with the trend. The Sandero and Jogger retain manual handbrakes because Dacia's philosophy prioritizes simplicity and repairability over technology for its own sake. The Sandero was Europe's best-selling car in 2023. That success proves customers respond to practical design decisions. The Mazda MX-5 and Toyota GR86 kept the manual lever too. Everyone purchased sends a message. Feature number 6, hydraulic power steering. Feel electric power steering took over because it improves fuel economy. No hydraulic pump means no parasitic drag on the engine. The efficiency savings are real, perhaps 2 to 3% in fuel consumption depending on driving conditions. The trade-off is steering feel. Hydraulic steering provides linear, progressive feedback that communicates exactly what the front tires are doing at every moment. You feel the road surface texture. You sense traction changes instantly. The steering wheel becomes a direct communication channel between your hands and the pavement. Electric steering filters that information through sensors, software, and motors. The connection becomes indirect, processed, interpreted rather than transmitted directly. Porsche faced a customer revolt when early electric steering systems felt numb and artificial compared to their legendary hydraulic feel. They invested heavily in improving feedback algorithms, and the current 911 steering is genuinely excellent. But it took years of development and sustained customer complaints to reach that point. The bad news is that hydraulic steering is essentially extinct in new vehicles and unlikely to return. This is a feature we've lost where manufacturers are working to replicate through software what they discarded in hardware. Mazda deserves credit here. Their electric steering systems prioritize feedback over pure efficiency, and the MX-5 steering feel rivals hydraulic systems from the past. If steering matters to you, test a Mazda back-to-back against competitors. The difference is immediately obvious. Feature number 5, front fog lights. This one is controversial because the argument for removal wasn't entirely unreasonable. Modern LED headlights provide excellent visibility in most conditions. Adaptive lighting systems adjust beam patterns automatically based on speed and steering angle. In many driving situations, traditional fog lights are genuinely redundant, but fog lights serve a specific purpose that sophisticated headlights cannot replicate, illuminating the road surface immediately in front of the vehicle during thick fog, heavy rain, or snow. The wide, low beam pattern cuts under the fog rather than reflecting back into the driver's eyes the way forward-facing headlights do. Several manufacturers deleted fog lights entirely, replacing them with decorative trim pieces or parking sensors in the bumper locations where fog lights traditionally lived. The styling looked cleaner. The accountants saved money on components. Drivers in Scotland, Norway, mountain regions, and anywhere with actual weather discovered their brand new cars couldn't cope with conditions their previous vehicles handled easily. The return is partial but real. Some manufacturers are restoring fog lights as optional equipment after customer complaints accumulated. Others are integrating fog light functions into their LED matrix systems, though these rarely match the effectiveness of dedicated fog lamps with their specifically designed beam patterns. If you live somewhere with genuine weather challenges, check the options list carefully. The feature that was standard on a $12,000 car in 2005 might cost $400 extra in 2026. Feature number 4, manual transmission surviving. The manual gearbox isn't coming back for mainstream vehicles in any meaningful way. That battle is lost to convenience, traffic conditions, and customer preferences that shifted over decades. But the manual transmission is holding on stubbornly in specific segments where driver engagement genuinely matters. Porsche continues offering manual transmissions in the 911 and 718 ranges. The take rate is low, perhaps 10 to 15% of buyers. But Porsche recognizes that enthusiast customers value the option and the brand credibility that comes with offering a proper three-pedal driving experience. BMW kept the manual in the M2 after customer outcry reached levels that corporate couldn't ignore. The Mazda MX-5 remains proudly manual first, with the automatic treated as the alternative rather than the default choice. Toyota engineered a manual transmission specifically for the GR Corolla and GR Yaris, recognizing that hot hatch buyers want three pedals and a clutch. In the mainstream market, the picture is bleaker. The Ford Focus ST went automatic only. The Volkswagen Golf GTI is automatic in most configurations globally. Manual take rates have fallen below 5% in many segments, making the business case for engineering and offering them increasingly difficult to justify. But here's the important point. Manuals still exist. They haven't been completely abandoned. Every purchase of a manual transmission vehicle is a vote for keeping them available for future buyers. Feature number 3, standard equipment returning. For years, manufacturers stripped equipment from base models to advertise artificially lower starting prices that caught attention in advertisements, then loaded the options list with items that were previously standard equipment: metallic paint, floor mats, spare wheel, reversing camera. Features costing almost nothing to include became $500 line items that added up quickly. Regulation is forcing some reversals that manufacturers would never have made voluntarily. Reversing cameras became mandatory for new vehicles. Automatic emergency braking is required. Speed limiters are mandated in many markets. Manufacturers can no longer charge extra for safety equipment that legal requirements demand. But the real shift comes from competitive pressure created by value-focused brands. Dacia includes air conditioning, electric windows, and a multimedia system as standard on even the base Sandero. When a $15,000 Dacia becomes better equipped than a $30,000 Volkswagen with no options selected, customers notice the absurdity immediately, and they're voting with their wallets accordingly. The Skoda Octavia, positioned as the sensible choice in its segment, now includes features as standard that direct competitors charge for. Hyundai and Kia offer strong standard equipment across all trim levels. Even premium brands are adjusting strategies, recognizing that nickel and diming customers for floor mats and metallic paint damages brand perception in ways that exceed the profit from those options. The race to the bottom on base equipment is slowly reversing. Feature number 2, repairable and accessible components. This is the meta feature that encompasses everything else we've discussed. For 20 years, manufacturers pushed systematically towards sealed systems, dealer-only diagnostics, software lock components, and subscription services for features already installed in your vehicle. They wanted you dependent on their service networks. They wanted every interaction flowing through their profit centers. The backlash has been comprehensive and sustained. Right-to-repair legislation is advancing across multiple continents. Regulations are mandating longer parts availability periods and better access to diagnostic equipment for independent mechanics. Safety organizations requiring physical buttons acknowledge that cars should be operable without a computer science degree. Most importantly, the market is speaking loudly through purchasing decisions. Dacia's success proves customers genuinely want simple, maintainable vehicles they can understand. The continued demand for older vehicles, the average age of cars on roads keeps climbing year after year, shows that people are keeping their existing vehicles rather than upgrading to more complex replacements they can't repair themselves. Manufacturers are noticing because they have no choice. The features returning today aren't coming back because executives had moral revelations. They're returning because run-flat tires annoyed customers enough to affect sales, because touchscreen controls caused enough crashes to trigger regulatory action, because sealed systems generated warranty claims and reputation damage that exceeded the savings. The rebellion worked. The question now is whether we maintain the pressure. Feature number 1, the right to actually own your vehicle. This is the biggest battle of all, and it's finally turning in our favor after years of manufacturers treating car buyers like subscribers rather than owners. For too long, manufacturers pushed toward a future where you paid $50,000 for a vehicle but couldn't truly own the experience. Heated seats required monthly subscriptions. Software updates could disable features you paid for. Diagnostic codes remained locked behind dealer-only equipment costing thousands of dollars. Third-party repairs voided warranties even for unrelated components. The tide is turning because customers refuse to accept this future. Right-to-repair laws now require manufacturers to provide diagnostic access to independent shops. Subscription features for hardware already installed in vehicles face growing regulatory scrutiny and customer backlash that damages brand perception. Tesla faced massive criticism for removing features through software updates. BMW retreated on heated seat subscriptions after the public relations disaster overshadowed any revenue the program generated. Manufacturers are learning that treating customers like captive subscribers creates resentment that affects future purchasing decisions. Your role in this ongoing victory is simple but powerful. Keep demanding better. Keep buying cars that respect your intelligence and ownership rights. Keep avoiding vehicles that treat you like a passive subscriber who rents features rather than owns them outright. Every purchase decision sends a signal. The manufacturers retreated on the easy features where complaints were loudest and fixes were cheapest. The harder battles for true ownership rights continue, and those battles are finally being won. 12 features that manufacturers stripped away, and 12 victories for customers who refuse to accept inferior alternatives disguised as progress. Physical buttons mandated by safety regulators, spare wheels returning to option lists, climate controls you can operate without reading a manual. The rebellion worked because you complained, you refused to buy, and you demanded better. Thank you sincerely for watching this entire video. Your support genuinely matters. Comment which removed feature frustrates you most, and which manufacturer you think needs to hear this message loudest. This isn't nostalgia. This is common sense finally winning.